Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to episode number 28 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis Dahl.
My name is Barbara Wojan. How are you guys?
So Barb, I saw on Facebook that Night Dental's given the NBC CDT test at your location today.
Yes. Yep, that's where I am right now. I'm actually at the laboratory. I have 10 candidates in every single specialty, which is pretty cool. I've never seen an ortho candidate, especially here in implants, crown and bridge, ceramics, and been here since 6:30 this morning and met a lot of really great technicians. The examiners are amazing. I just got them lunch, and now I'm taking a break to record with you.
Do you do any of the testing, or are you just hosting?
I'm just hosting.
What does it take to be a host? Do you have to have certain equipment for everybody?
Pretty much, yeah. You've got a list of all the things that they need. Make sure that all of the candidates call me the week before. Make sure that they have handpieces and steamers, and most of the stuff that we have here, we let them use. But the they bring their ovens. For sure, you want your own oven. And then we just provide the benches and the time and the space. They take the test. It takes 5 hours and 15 minutes. And then the examiners grade them and they come back at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So it ends at 1:15. Then they come back and they pick up all their stuff. And then they get their grades in 6 weeks. And seems like a pretty good group. So it's another thing that I do because I love my industry. Yeah. I was here at 16, I like it. And I have a big facility, so it affords us to be able to bring a lot of techs in, and it's cool.
Do you give them job applications while they're there too?
No, but I'm thinking that this one lady in the removable, I'm like, I wonder where she's at. And one of them's on the base here in town. I asked him about the lab that they have and all of the stuff at the base. So that was pretty neat too.
That's cool. Do you give them a big pep talk before they get started? Do you today is the day you fulfill your destiny as a CD? Do you give them all that?
No. I give them bagels and Fireball. Say good luck. Most of them are pretty wound, pretty tight, especially right now when you have 15 minutes left and you can see the beads of sweat and they're trying to get everything done. There's a lot of pressure and it's cool to watch, but I think they all finished on time. And one guy lost a crown, had to find it on the floor, and the examiner found it for him.
Oh, man, that's tough.
So I was like, yeah, I've been there, done that. Been on the floor looking once.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to do when we retiled the lab is not use white.
That's what everybody said to me. Glidewell had white floors when I went there.
Really? What was it, an A3? Yes. An A1?
No, they were white. No,
That's
they
crazy.
were like a BL4. Yep. I came back and I had somebody come out and look at our floors because I want white floors now.
Really? Doesn't that make it harder to find stuff, though?
Yeah, that's what everybody tells me. But I don't know. I'd rather have clean and white and pretty.
I guess it does show all the scrapes and wax drops and stone. And so this week, pretty exciting. You can now register for the Vision 21 meeting that takes place in January 16th to the 19th in Las Vegas. I mean, I know it's a while off, but both Barb and I will be there. It's a great meeting. I've been going for years. It's more of a business management meeting than a technical meeting, which a lot of conferences are. Plus, it's in Las Vegas in the winter, which is super nice for us in the Midwest. It's really one of my favorite meetings of the year.
Same here. My favorite meeting of the year. I love it.
And I know we've mentioned many times about buying a raffle ticket to win the motorcycle at voicesfromthebench.com, but they'll actually draw the winning raffle ticket at Visions 21. So if you go to Visions 21 and you buy a ticket, you could possibly just skip your plane ride and ride the hog back to wherever you're coming from. So,
well said.
And if you're really nice to Barb, you might be able to get to hear her unbeat.
Darn, I was just going to say damn, but then you'd have to beat me, so darn. True. I guess I have to be good, and it's Vegas, so, we'll be up a little late, but I'll do my best to not swear.
So we continue today's conversation with Robert and Yulia from last week, talking more about the integrated digital workflow with removable restorations. Also, we get into something that's really interesting. The differences between how we do things in the States and other countries. You know, Yulia is from the old Soviet Union, and Robert spends a lot of time consulting with companies that work in other countries. So we get a nice perspective on that.
Very interesting. I'm glad to bring it to you guys.
Voices from the Bench. The interview.
Compromise the edentulous patient's life better, I think, and leave something for the profession. I think that's our objective.
So, Yulia, I've got a question. So if you talk about the conventional digital integrated, what does that look like? Like, how can you integrate the two? Where would you start? What do you need? And what does that kind of look like?
Well, first of all, when you want to involve in the digital, you have to have a knowledge overall. How to make dentures anyway. Because like Robert mentioned that you cannot go in start the digital without having knowledge about the removable overall.
Sure.
So as a fear of technicians, they're going to lose a job. I heard this from some technicians as well, but there's going to be always room for conventional. Because, even a digital world open up the door, but the thing is, at the beginning, as a technician, we look at the impressions, we look at the models, and we have to put our knowledge there to see if it's good or not, even to start with, to put in a scanner. And as well, and then digital part. And then on the end, you have to be a very good technician to finalize, because whatever we have, whatever comes from the mail has to be finalized. And also, when you do digital side, you have to know a lot about occlusion, how the teeth have to relate to each other. It's a lot of knowledge. It's not just you sit behind the computer and click, 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 and it will work for you. No. It's a big knowledge you have to combine two together.
And Barbara, as far as the workflow, let me just jump in. I mean, these terms integrated is something I started writing about a year ago, or earlier this year. I started writing some articles and used these terms. Like saw when I was at Avident, and the need for setting teeth, and then because some dentists prefer a wax try-in, and then you get it all the way to the try-in state, and then you would scan that. So it's conventional up to the try-in state. So the base plate, say the custom tray, and then the dentist border molds that, and then that might be, and then they might create some models, and then they'll do conventional base plates, occlusal rims, and then with the occlusal rims, they'll get their records, the centric relation or myocentric, whatever their records they use. But most people are using centric relation, and then they'll mount an articulator, and then set it up, do a try, and then scan that. Then from that point, then it goes digital. So that would be more of integrated. Same thing with doing a base plate and occlusal rim conventionally, and then taking a wash impression under the base plate to capture the soft tissue, and then register and stabilize it, and then take your centric relation records and then scan that, and then everything after that records appointment is digital. So, and the same thing with implants. You might integrate an implant into the workflow where you would set up all the denture teeth conventionally, scan in that space, and then capture space for the bar. And then once you have that bar space analyzed, then you would set digitally the teeth over that. So there's different workflows you can use, and that's where I'm really about the digital workflows, not the end product, what you get there. But the end product is aesthetics of the end product is getting better and better and better.
I mean, haven't we all been integrating ever since milled titanium bars? I mean,
correct.
Yeah, we're just growing upon that thought. So,
correct. So you can scan in for an immediate if the teeth have not, aren't super erupted, aren't splayed out, but you have a good arrangement. The patient wants the same mold, so that can be biocopied. And it's in I think the new InLab 18 software where they have this biocopy capability, and then you can give the patient back their same contours.
So that's interesting. We're looking at being able to mill or print existing dentition that a patient had. So when they get their denture, it almost looks exactly like the teeth they had before and not a selected mold.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's pretty neat. I never even thought about that. That's a really neat thing.
I really like your term integrated. I think I believe it. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I've seen it in my laboratory, how we've been able to integrate some digital and some conventional. So my belief is that you're always going to need the skill level and the mind and, all of the knowledge of the technicians. And nobody really has anything to worry about except for getting better and improving. So I like that.
Where's all this going, guys? I mean, obviously you're on top of it. Where and what sort of time frame are we looking at for this to expand and grow?
Well, like I said earlier, I think, it's going to grow exponentially in the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, you're going to see rapid growth in 2 to 3 years. It's going to be quite similar to what, you experienced 10 years ago with Crown Bridge.
Sure.
And you saw, it started, about 12 years ago and fixed prosthetics, I think it was. And then, so from 2006 to 2010, those 4 years were amazing. What happened in fixed prosthetics. I mean, we saw all types of technology, coming out. Where it's going to grow exponentially in 4 years. We're going to go from 1% last year to probably in 2020, we'll probably be up to 5%. And I would say by 2022, we're going to be up to 20%.
Wow.
And then by 2024, 25, we'll be up to 40%. Partial denture is going to grow much faster. But these aren't just my predictions. These are predictions, that have been done by analysts. iData came out with some studies. Other people have come out with studies. But this is the predictions where it's going to be and removal prosthodontics in the digital world in the next 4 to 5 years.
It's going to be a lot of change, a lot of rapid change, and I think it's going to be better for the patient, the dentist, and for us. So I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. And
is that company comes in? So are you consulting with laboratories and with doctors, or are you just consulting with laboratories? What does that look like, your company?
Consulting with one company right now, but on a global basis. So what I'm doing is on the conventional side. So I'm creating training programs for different countries around the world.
Wow. Using
products. So right now I'm working on a training program in South America and in Middle Asia. And so it's more, I'm working with new materials, new products that are being introduced on the conventional side of dentures.
Well, that's interesting. I've always wanted different country perspectives on this show, and I've been trying to reach out to technicians from all over the world because I don't know anything about our industry outside of America. I mean, it sounds like you can speak on that. So tell me, can you even talk about some interesting differences between our industry here and, like you mentioned, South America or Asia?
Yes. Yeah. I a little bit. I mean, it's interesting. Yulia said earlier, she was educated in the former, in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And they had educational requirements. You could not work in a lab unless you had formal education.
That's huge. Yeah.
And that was years ago. And so that kind of shows us for many years where the United States have been as far as the educated dental technician population. But in regards to, globally, and we are one of the few countries that does not require education.
Yeah.
Most of the countries in the world require education for dental technicians. So I think the United States has to work on that quite a bit to provide more education for this future dental technician population. Also, it's interesting around the world that we see in, like, for example, in Europe, in Germany, it's very common for complete dentures to use the pour technique. I would say the majority, probably 80% of the dentures in Europe, in Germany, Austria, well, let's say all of Europe, are done with pour techniques. As well as Asia. A lot of the dentures in Asia are pour techniques.
Really?
So it's not, but yet we look up to a lot of the prosthetics that are made, thinking they're much more sophisticated, and in some of these countries than in the U.S. But they are using these very basic, simple techniques, but they're more concerned about the materials. Mm-hmm. So, the question is it necessary to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in a laboratory for these machines to process dentures when they're not doing that in a lot of countries? Human body is human body. We're all working in the same mouth, no matter what country we're in. Yeah. So I always found that interesting. I found interesting I think some of the countries are much more advanced than we are in the U.S. as far as technician, like I said, knowledge, and that has to do with education. But the materials, I think a lot of the countries are very concerned more about the patient, or more concerned about the prosthesis they're providing the patient instead of the profit. Yeah. In business, we have to be profitable in business, but sometimes we let the profits overweigh the patient. Sure. And I think I see this in a lot of countries where they go to they go to the extra mile to give the patient the best they can. In some places here in the U.S., we might use inexpensive teeth, but yet charge them out as a higher end tooth. Where I think there's a lot. I don't see that being done as much in some other countries in the world. I think they use the better quality of teeth, the best quality they can get. Yeah, sure. There's some countries that teeth are very, very cheap. You can buy a card teeth for $1, $2. Uh-huh. But that is, like, in any country, it's a small segment of the population. And also look at in some countries, people don't have the finance, they don't have the money, they don't have the dental insurance to pay for these products. There's little villages in parts of the world where getting dental care is very, very difficult. And people don't even think about getting an estate plate. They just want the tooth extracted, or maybe all the teeth extracted, and make a denture. So globally, there's going to be a need for conventional dentures for many, many, many years, because digitally is really in the United States right now, and then it's going to be in Europe, maybe after that into Asia, but the majority of the population globally will still be conventional. Interesting. I find that fascinating. What about you, Yulia? When you came over to the States, what shocked you between the differences between the two countries?
As far as dentistry or countries overall?
Well, not country overall, obviously, but just dental laboratory. Was there anything that kind of made you kind of go, wow, this is how you do it?
No, it was totally different. Well, first of all, really? As I said, I used to do crown bridge and denture. On a removable side, I would say probably more the same. Yeah. At this time when I came here, in my country, we didn't do invested and crown bridge. Mm-hmm. And we just used, and until now, because sometimes I go visit my country, they still use the old technique to do the crown and bridge as well. But as far as a removable, it's not that much. I learned terminology. I learned a little bit of the machine, what they use, material, and it wasn't hard for me to get a job here. And eventually I got my CDT. I became a CDT here because, I just want to prove that I'm a certified technician. I'm not just technician. Even I had this education back in my country, but I want to be certified here in the United States. Yeah. It wasn't easy for me, to be honest, but I did. And no, like I said, on the removable side, not as much. Crown bridge, yes. Interesting. And fixed side, Was it difference in material or difference in processes, or? Yeah, it's in the process. It was a total new world for
Interesting.
me. When I came here, before I got the first job here in removable, I used to go before I used to go to, I got to know one guy. He had his own lab in his garage, and I volunteered for a few days a week, and I helped him just to learn. And then I was like, oh no, I just want to be a removable tech. And actually, it wasn't hard for me to get the job on the removable side because, setting teeth is my key. I like it. Best of the whole process, I like to set the teeth. And working in micro for 20 years, I was mainly setting teeth. It was my specialties.
It's an important specialty.
Yeah, it is. So I can set teeth with my closed eyes.
So, have you set teeth digitally? How is that transition? How easy is it to go from being able to hold it to seeing it on a screen?
It's easy when you know how to do this, especially with the software, which is, I did experience only with Avadent. It's easy because they have this special codes. You just go with the code. You just pull out from library, cut with the teeth, and you set it. Also, you can adjust the teeth as far as width or the length of the teeth. It's very easy. It's so fascinating because you sit in front of the computer. It's like a video game.
Sure. Yeah.
But you creating at the same time. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. And I would encourage all the technicians who are against this, just once sit down behind the computer and try to do this. And I'm 100% positive that they will change their mind.
With the new generation of dental technicians that are coming into the field, and obviously we need to still train them traditionally, but do you feel that they will train easier digitally because of their generation?
As far as traditional or digital?
Well, the generation that's coming into our field now are younger. They were raised with tablets and computers. And do you think it's going to be easier to train this new generation digitally than it is to train a technician now traditionally?
To say easier or not easier, it's totally my perspective or point of view. I would say if you're born to be technician, it's going to be easier.
Yeah.
But it is easier because you will see this on the computer. And what I see future of the digital, since they evolving, it's so fast. It goes so fast. This technology goes so fast. The communication between a dentist and the technicians is so much easier now through the computers.
Sure.
Instead of, communicate on a phone, you hold the dentures, models and articulators in front of you and the dentist on the other side of who knows where. And once you put everything on a screen, it's going to be very much easier to communicate with dentists. And I think it's going to be much easier to train in technicians. Yeah. Especially now, new generation, they raised on this technology.
Yeah.
And Ellis, and the training, the education will be different. Working on now different types of training for this for the future. And yeah, they will be integrated into this training program, much more exposure to digital, to computers, to understanding how to communicate. Different terms, like Yulia said, there's a whole new vocabulary that people have to learn on digital, especially removal prosthetics.
Oh yeah,
it'll change. But it's going to be. I think the learning curve will be much different. And right now, you might get into this field, graduate from lab school, but be 5 or 6 years before you start making a decent salary. I truly believe that that's going to change dramatically with digital. The value of people, because there will be fewer technicians in this field, because it'll increase the efficiency and productivity of a technician. Thus, it should affect the value of the technician, just like it has in other technologies, where digital has disrupted, been the disruptor. So, yeah, it's technicians and training programs will be different, but the new people that get into this, younger technicians, will learn much faster because, like you said, they've grown up with this technology. It's been part of their life. It's already been integrated into their life, and taking the step further is not a big thing for them. Yeah, especially with dentists. I mean, look at the young dentists going to dental school, and even the dental programs, they're all going digital.
Yeah.
And we're working now with one university, that, in fact, interesting, I did a project with this university, and they were doing parallel workflows, conventional and digital, and the patient, we delivered the same dentures. The patient preferred the digital denture because they said it felt more natural. And that's
really?
Because and that totally blew me away. I mean, Yulia and I took a little personally. Yulia did the conventional denture for this project, and both of us worked on it. And then it was a digital denture that was done through the denture, but yet the patient liked that denture better. I think what happens is when you design it digitally, you can control the thickness of the base. You can control the rugae, the anterior rugae. So when you scan the palate, you're creating a negative of that positive, and then again you're picking up the exact placement and exact replication of the patient's natural rugae in the anterior hard palate, as well as the contour of the palate. So you're maintaining that throat form, the contour of the palate, and you also can control the thickness. You can get the precise thickness throughout the palate. So a huge advantage to the patient for their tongue. It feels more natural. The placement of the teeth can feel more natural because you have this finite area in this denture space which you're designing, and you can see the space on a screen and control it much easier than you can on an articulator with wax and teeth.
Interesting. We're getting to the end here. We covered some great information. Now, I know, Robert, I seem to see you speaking a lot. So where can people find you this fall?
Yulia and I both doing a full-day lecture in Alberta, Canada, to the Alberta Dentures Association. That's September. Their meeting, I think, is the 12th through the 15th. It's outside Calgary. We're doing a program there on the 15th. And then I'm doing a workshop at the International Digital Denture Symposium in September in Phoenix. And then, we come into the holiday seasons. It's amazing. This year is almost over with. We're approaching the end of the third quarter.
I know. It seems weird. It's almost like Lab Day is right around the corner up in Chicago. So,
well, it's interesting because yesterday I was on some emails that were planning for Chicago.
Yeah, I know. It's strange.
I mean, to wrap this up, I think the main thing is we have to look at the customer. Whereas lab techs, we are doing the best we can for the patient, and whatever it takes. I think whatever options we have. I mean, I was always my mentors years ago, Dr. Pound, and other people always told me you have to have a big bag of tricks. The bigger your bag of tricks and more options you have, the better off you are in prosthetics. And always understanding the variables and trying to eliminate the variables as much as possible to understand how to design the case. So I think digital does that very well. It ends up it gives us a tool and some great solutions for the patient in the long term. And especially digitizing the denture. I mean, like I said earlier, you retain this file. And the patient keeps this file for the rest of their life. If they're on a trip and they party too much, maybe on a cruise line, and they lose their dentures overboard, which I've done many dentures for people, they, no problem. They call their denture up and a new denture is waiting for them when they get home.
Yeah.
They don't have to go through the whole clinical process. At all labs, we've had these emergencies. We've had to make a denture, really fast for somebody that's lost a denture or broken a denture. No, with digital, there's no problem. You have that file. click of the mouse, and you start the process for a new one.
Yeah.
It's changing.
Yeah, it would help with the famous "my dog chewed it" problem.
Absolutely, exactly. I mean, it's then the next thing is you're going to see the dog's paw and clicking the mouse, making a new one.
So what about changing soft tissue and relines? Can you change that file to add a new intaglio surface?
Yes, you can. So you can conventionally reline a digital denture because all it's all polymethyl methacrylate, but you can also digitally take a wash impression, and then whether you do a functional impression, use functional impression material, which is the best way to capture the soft tissue and revitalize it, and scan that, and then from that file, merge that, with the old file, register it, or just use that file and mill out a new prosthesis. That's probably the best way. Years ago, we used to call this a jump or a reconstruction, where we would redo the base but maintain the teeth. I think now with additive and subtractive technologies, we can skip that process and just make the patient a whole new denture.
Yeah.
People wearing this piece of plastic in their mouth, the average denture wear, the studies have been 16 years. You wear the same denture in their mouth.
Wow.
So, even 5 years is too much. I think, so I can see in the future where as we digitize this process and work with digital prosthetics, we have these files. I think it'll be best for the patient because maybe they'll have a denture, maybe they'll have a series of dentures they wear. Maybe they'll have a denture they wear for 6 months, or maybe they'll have a special set they wear when they go out for special occasions, or a denture, it could be like they're part of their wardrobe. But I think in the future, people will they won't just own one set of dentures. They'll have more than one, to wear for occasions, because digitally they'll all be exactly the same, fit exactly the same, and function exactly the same.
That's a really good point. I think that's a very patient positive aspect to digital dentures, which is really what we're trying to do
just
here.
To go out maybe with the diamond in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to be, flashy, and one night, sparkle and have a diamond in their tooth.
Add some gold bling. Yeah.
Exactly. Styling. You have some style dentures.
Or if you're visiting relatives down in the South, you can have one that's missing a tooth. That's possible,
Anything's possible. Absolutely. Anything is possible. So you're absolutely right. You might want some Billy Bob digital dentures.
Yeah, or Halloween, add some fangs. we got this covered, This is great.
So it depends upon what your expectations, desires are, and whatever they are, believe me, they can be met digitally.
That's great. Well, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
My email is rob at Dentgnostix, DENTGNOSTIX.com. Yulia, the same thing, Yulia, YULIA at Dentgnostix, DENTGNOSTIX.com. We're still working on the website, so we're new business. That'll be up in the next week or two.
Excellent.
Which will be Dentgnostix.com. And that's probably the best way. Like you said earlier, I'm on Facebook. I get a lot of questions from different people around the world and answering questions. So I'm always open to anybody who wants to discuss conventional or digital dentures, and that's, we're here to pass on knowledge.
Well, yeah, I think it's great. I learned a lot. I picked up a few positive aspects to the digital dentures that I never thought of, and hopefully our listeners did too. And I appreciate you guys being on. Robert, Yulia, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think we covered some great ground, and I thank you guys for your time.
Well, thank you, Elvis, for having us, and thank you, Barbara. And this is really a great format, for dental laboratory technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have yourself a good weekend.
All right, you too. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
A big thank you to Robert and Yulia. We really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Their experience and skills in removable technology is a welcome perspective into the digital workflow. Thanks again for joining us. Always remember that all of their contact information is listed on their bios at voicesfromthebench.com. So if you want to know more, head over there and click their link.
Which you should want to know more because they have a lot of information, and it was a really, really good and very interesting podcast. I learned a lot. Once we go digital, I may be reaching out to them for some help. So I really appreciate the information.
So I really have an interest in dental laboratory technology in other countries, either the history of or what's currently being done. I know I personally want to know more. And if you're a dental technician located outside of the United States, send me an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com. We'd love to have you on the show and talk about technology in your country.
Please do reach out to us because we're really enjoying our interviews, and we like to interview as many as we can and as many different specialties. So please reach out to us.
Yeah, we got some great interviews lined up.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye. If you're a dental technician, that dog almost bit me.